So welcome to today's class. This is a meat and potatoes session that's designed to cover the real essentials that go into capturing visitors from your website. It doesn't have to be a hard concept or even a really technical one, really. It boils down to empathy, understanding your target audience, their needs, what they're going through, and how you can equip your website to where you speak their language and make it more likely they choose you over your competition. But the first thing to talk about is figuring out your target audience and what sort of things you'll need to keep in mind as you go along. Who are you targeting? How will you present yourself? Some of you are probably saying buyers and sellers to yourselves right now, but it is more than that. There's lots of different types of buyers and sellers, and they all have their own different sets of needs and expectations of what to get out of an agent and your website. Here's the components of what you'll need to consider in order to make sure that you're actually targeting versus just building without a plan, basically. What do you want more of? Is there a particular type of buyer or seller that you want to attract more than any other? Or would you rather have more listings versus driving buyers all over town? Build your website with these in mind so that it's likely to do what you want it to do versus just casting a wide net and hoping something sticks. What do people want or need in your area? Markets shift as do needs. Keep up with those trends and make sure that your website is current and follows that market and what's going on. What real estate problems need solving? This is related, but where we're going with this is that in the end, a visitor needs to see you as the problem solver. So first, we need to know what the problem is so you can make sure that your site offers them solutions. What are the common interests, likes, and cultures? This may be a little bit less important than the others so far, but basically you need to be approachable through your website, so you need to seem like a person just like them. So when figuring out what to say about yourself on your site, try to keep in mind what would help your image connect with your visitors. What will your offers be? Here's a big one, and we'll spend some extra time on this part later. You aren't really in the business of free advice. To some degree, your website will have things to offer your visitors freely, but at some point, you've got to offer them something in exchange for their contact info. What is that going to be? What will your pitch be to convince someone to no longer be an anonymous visitor? We'll get into this some more as we go along today, though, but the last one is what makes you different. This is another big one. Your competition is easy to find, so you must find a way to differentiate yourself. Whether that means designing your site around becoming a specialist in a particular topic, or whether it's your experience or your tech savvy or the team you've got behind you, there must be some horn you can toot about yourself to let someone know that you're not just one option out of many. There's a reason that you're the right one. I have an entire class on this topic, by the way, here on our training page. I'm going to be teaching it live. It's called, let's see, where is it? Should be next week's class. Oh, here it is, Bridging the Gap Between Hyperlocal and Leads. It's about being somebody's expert in order to get leads. I believe that'll be Wednesday's class. Let me look at the date here. Yes, this will be Wednesday's class, but I also have a version that's pre-recorded. I'll pull that up here. So if you want some more help on this first slide about setting your plan, I've got it recorded right here. It's called Niche Marketing, the Key to Owning Your Market. It's about how being more specific gives your brand power and how you can set yourself apart. We'll talk about that here a little bit more as we go along, but the last thing I wanted to mention on this planning slide is when you're contacted, how are you going to stay in touch? With what and how often? How will it lead to an appointment? This is the end goal, after all. Just because they leave you their contact info doesn't mean you're done. So before you start getting leads coming in, you've got to set up a plan for what you'll do with them to keep them attentive to you and your services. If that's going to involve email marketing, I do have another pre-recorded class that I can recommend on this topic. It is right here, Converting Leads into Business with Accelerate. We talk about individual email marketing models and how to make one of those fit your business. So if that's going to be your plan to stay in touch, that'd be a good follow-up class to take after this one. Okay, so now we're through with the planning process and we're ready to start putting things together. Now, since the people visiting your website are probably going to be seeing your other competition as well, let's start with your first impressions. You should know who you're targeting and what they want from you and build your site accordingly. So just to rehash what we just went over, you should build your site following your plan for what you want it to generate for you, who you want it to attract. Your website should feel like the right place for them. If they feel like they're in the right place, then they won't leave and check out your competition. They'll stick around and they'll see what all you have to offer. If your site is built with a good enough specific plan, then this one here, this won't be a problem. Your site will feel like the right place as long as you build it with a good plan. The site should not drive people away. If you've ever looked at a site that was built without a plan, you can usually tell. Buttons are all over the place. You have to think harder to find your way around. You've got too many font colors and sizes. It's distracting, or whatever other turnoffs there might be. You want to drive people to your website to close them, not have your website scare people off. Now, that doesn't mean that your site has to look cutting edge or that you need to have tons of bells and whistles. Even a simple template website can be the perfect simple tool for the job as long as you use it well and give people what they want. So as far as what people want, overall, visitors should immediately be able to find 3 key things. Shopping pages, listings, inventory, and searches. This one's obvious. People want to kick some tires and see what's out there. Area information, you're a local expert. This one's a little less obvious, and I see quite a few websites forgetting this one. We'll talk about why this matters here in a moment. But the third thing people want is transaction advice. You're an industry expert. People want to know how to buy or how to sell. If the process was simple, or if everybody already knew everything, then there'd be no reason to have real estate agents. But since there is a need for agents, your website needs to show that you are an agent and that you can help them buy and sell. So now let's talk about giving your visitors the contents that they crave, and we'll start with the obvious one. Let's take some extra time here on property searches. This is the #1 thing people want. Your product is listing, so your website needs to have your products on it. But of course, you do need to have more than just one search link where visitors do all the work. If you think about it, every real estate website has buttons to perform a property search. It's pretty much standard equipment these days. And your site is likely competing against Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, and others where visitors can search for a home. So how will you stand out from those competing tools? Well, you can make it easier on visitors with pages for each niche. Here's the thing about those big guys like Trulia and Zillow. Yes, they've got property searches and listings galore, but what they don't do is directly take care of someone's specific needs. If someone wants hunting land or to buy a gas station business, they'll be on Zillow for quite a while trying to find it. But if that's your specialty and you give it to them in one button, then they'll gladly use your site over the other guys any day. They don't have to search. The idea is to use the MLS to get someone's search started for them in one click so that they don't have to type and they immediately get listings. It's less work and it's just what they had in mind. So I'm going to go over a couple of ideas and then I'll show you some examples of this. Here's some ideas for some MLS pages. You could do a button for starter homes or luxury. Create a button that sets a minimum price range for luxury or a maximum price for a reasonable first home. Homes near an attraction, such as a major employer, a landmark, the beach, the lake, a military base, or any other highlight where people might want to live. Specific areas like communities or neighborhoods. I'd also include school districts in this list too, but do your shoppers already know where they want to live or where their kids want to go to school? Give them just the right listings in one click and then you'll be the expert. Now I'm going to pull up an example website real quick and I'll show you the impact of giving somebody more than just a search button. There's a website that I built when I was teaching the IDX class, which I also have recorded on the training page here. Actually, I'll get to that here in a minute, but here on the IDX sample website, what I've done is I've made my page all about shopping for a home. And it's more than just a search widget. In fact, I've kind of toned down the option for doing a custom search. Instead, it's all about, do you want to live somewhere in the metro? Click here to search the north and northwest side of town, or click here for individual neighborhoods, or click over here on this map for these suburbs. Or down here, I've got special areas like homes near Chesapeake Energy. You can live near Tinker Air Force Base. You can get just to the rentals. Now, you can do a custom search, but if you do the right stuff here, if you call out to specific pages that are exactly what somebody wants, you're going to see your stats funneling into all these other links, and you're only going to have some small bits of traffic going to the custom search because people don't want to start from scratch. They want to be started. They want to be saved the work. One click and they're there. So if you do the right thing, you're going to get people started and you're going to feel like the expert, basically. Now I do have a pre-recorded class that talks just on this topic. It's here on the training page. It's under our recorded classes, and it's called X-Sites IDX, using it as a lead capture tool. And we focus on not just setting up the pages themselves, but coming up with ideas, as well as how to implement them on the home page like this and call out to them so that people can obviously find them and such. Now, more than just letting them search and then getting them listings, if you have the right tools, they should also be what you might call sticky. This is a marketing term. Sticky means your visitors keep coming back for more. So here's a few things that I would consider sticky features to get them to keep coming back to your website. Saving favorite properties. They can register for an account and start saving favorite listings as if it were a wish list or a shopping cart so that they can evaluate those homes later. Or saving favorite searches with email alerts. Maybe they don't have to keep coming back, but rather they can type what they have in mind and have the listings come to their inbox every day. Then they're also getting marketing from you while they're at it. So there's a lot more to a property search than just searching properties, in other words. So you might check out that Lead Capture IDX class if you want to spend some extra time on that. But next, I want to spend some additional time going over area information, particularly since this is the one thing I find missing most often from real estate websites I've seen. Area information is the #1 thing that helps your search engine rank. This is why area information is such a big deal. If you think about the way people Google, they almost always include a specific area name along with their phrases, like San Diego homes for sale. Search engines want you to include not just homes for sale all over your site, which you're probably already going to do, but they also want you to include San Diego info all over your site too. That way you're rich on both counts. But visitors also want this. Visitors want area information because they may love a listing but know nothing about the area going on around it, especially if they're relocating. Now, for the sake of search engines, you should put area names near the top of the page and in your page titles. This really spells it out in black and white for Google that, hey, I am all about this area. It's in the titles. It's at the top of the pages. And I do have a dedicated search engine class. I'll actually be teaching the search engine class again next Monday. If you want to take that class, if you haven't signed up for it yet, it's right here, Foolproof Tips and Tricks for Getting to Google Leads. Or I have a pre-recorded version of it, and that is right here, but it's under a different name. It's called The Easiest Form of SEO, Building a Better Website. And I do touch on how to do area names in a way that gets search engine attention. So that'll be a good one to make sure that you're doing it in a way that pleases Google. But as far as what pleases your visitors, you got to give them some area information, and specific pages are a plus. Here's some things that you might do with it. You might tie these pages into your shopping pages. Any pages that have listings on it, say, hey, do you want to learn about the area? Click here, because they may love those properties, but they know nothing about that school district or that neighborhood or whatever that niche page is. If I pull up my IDX website one more time, the one that I was using earlier, I've actually done this. If I click on, I'll just use my old Block 42 link here. This is a downtown condo complex. Somebody can click here, and they will immediately start getting some listings. Here's the available Block 42 listings. There's only 2 units available in this complex. But if they're not sure if they want to live in Block 42, they can click here to learn more about the area. So this is how it takes care of the visitors. Yes, they found listings, but what if they want more? Within one click, they can get some information. They can check out the Block 42 website. They can go back to the listings if they want. They can look at the photos, take a look at some attractions, some Zillow stats, whatever you want to give them about the area. As long as you do something like this, the search engines will know that you specialize in downtown Oklahoma City condos and that people who want to live in this condo complex are all about you. So you'll be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You've got your Google richness and you've got your visitor requirement. So here's a couple of ideas of what you might put into some of this local content. Attractions and highlights. Why should somebody live there? Or demographics. What kinds of people live there? Market conditions. Is this a great place for investing, or is this a good time to get now because the homes are cheap? Price ranges. How much would somebody expect to pay if they wanted to live in this area? Neighborhoods, like for example, if you're doing a school district, you might talk about the different neighborhoods in that school district and what's different about each of those. Builders or even architectural styles. Especially if you have a relationship with a builder, do a page featuring some of their neighborhoods or some of their custom floor plans. Or you could just look up an area or a subject on Wikipedia and summarize what they say. Now don't copy and paste from Wikipedia, at least not for the sake of search engines, because Google is smart enough to know that you've plagiarized Wikipedia. If you want to get a good rank on what you're doing, your site should be unique. So if nothing else, at least rephrase what Wikipedia said. You can always use them as an outline if nothing else. Now, the third thing that people want is transaction advice. They want you to be a real estate expert. This is the #1 reason people will choose an agent versus buying and selling on their own. It's that market ignorance. They can't do it themselves, so eventually they want to contact somebody. If you're giving them some advice on buying or selling or renting or whatever their transaction angle might be, they're going to be more likely to go ahead and contact you for more advice and related advice. Create some audience areas for specific needs or demographics. I'm going to pull up another example website real quick, and I'll show you what I mean about that. This is a website where right here on the home page, what I've done is I've put some images calling out to people. Do you want to rent? Click here for advice. Do you want to live near base? Click here for advice. Or let me show you another example. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Hang on a minute. Now in this one, I'm doing it a little bit differently. Instead, it's more like a bullet point list. Do you want to buy? Here's some articles for you. Do you want to sell? Here's some advice articles for you. You got to take care of their transaction and give them an easy-to-follow track for educating themselves. Make it feel like you had them in mind whenever you built the website. You're there to help. You're there to give them information and such. You will seem approachable. So you should have some pages and subpages for each audience. Have some buyers pages, have some sellers pages, or particular types of buyers like first-time buyers or short sale sellers. Give them their own page that has transaction advice on it. Flyout menus are a plus. What I mean by this is if I come over here on my left-hand side menu and I hover over for buyers, I've got all my buying articles here as a mouse over flyout. I've got the same thing for sellers. I've also done the same thing for people who just want to shop. There's a find a home button and some shopping buttons pop out. Or area info, I've got that with its own little pocket here talking about the prices. If you give people their own section of your menu, they're going to appreciate having a nice focus. They don't have to poke around and find the stuff themselves. You've spelled it out and grouped everything into a nice, easy-to-digest package. Also, definitely call out to these audiences on the home page. Say, hey, buyers, are you buying a home? Read these articles first. Are you having trouble selling? Click here. Here's a couple more ideas for the home page. Make a very specific offer. Home won't sell. Get their attention right off the bat. Hey, are you looking for selling advice? Are you having trouble selling? And then link to a page that solves that problem. Like home won't sell. Click here to find out top reasons why your home may not be selling. Or just link to an audience area. If you're trying to take care of multiple audiences, then give everybody their own individual little landing page. Like if I go back to this website, I did that. Renters click here. Seniors click here. Give them their own area so that they feel like you're taking care of them. If they are a senior, they will click here. They're not going to get into any of this irrelevant stuff. You've started them on their journey. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's bring this on home and put it together into a little bit of review here. Now, what your website needs overall, the best websites are simple and focused around specific needs or audiences, not a jack of all trades. What I mean by this is when somebody lands on your website, they should not see 800 buttons. In fact, I'd say anything more than 30 or 40 is sort of pushing it. You don't have to cover every single angle of the transaction or every single type of transaction. You just have to give them enough that your website is just right. You don't have to have too many pages, but the ones you have are all just right. It all fits your model. Don't overdo it. Try to just pick a couple of things to focus on. Make sure that your site covers that, and then we'll go into making sure that that also gets people closer to you, which will be coming up here in a little bit. But here's the pages your site should end up having overall. At least one subpage for each specialty, each niche, each target, or each local area. Give them their own page so that you actually focus on it and that people who want that can hop in there. A few different pages for home shopping. We talked about these. Make a luxury button or a starter homes button or whoever you're trying to take care of, but not just a search button. You need to have more than just a search button. Have a separate testimonials page. Don't put this on the home page. We'll talk about the home page here in a little bit, but make sure that you do have a separate page for people who want to find out what others have had to say about you. A separate page about you or your team and your credentials. This is your website. You do need to toot your own horn to some degree. Make sure you have a page set aside to do that. And then a dedicated page for your contact info. Really, your contact info should be everywhere, but go ahead and give it its own button. That way it's easy to find and it's right there in your menu. Now I want to focus on the home page too. The home page is also a great part of your first impression. Overall, the home page should lead a visitor to your highlights. Like the models that I've just been pulling up here periodically, your home page is all about getting them started. Within one click, you're taking them to the highlighted features. Your rentals button, your seniors button, your military button, or your buying transaction advice, your selling transaction, your shopping buttons, whatever it may be, your home page's job is to get them there. The homepage is not a bio or a place to toot your own horn. You do need to do this to some degree somewhere on your website, but not on your first impression. When somebody lands on your site for the first time, they don't care about you, and that's a harsh reality. What they really care about is themselves. They just Googled a certain problem. They don't care about anything or anyone until they find the solution to that problem on your website. So if your site is there talking about yourself and how great you are and so forth, that's going to go in one ear and out the other. Instead, on a first impression, the homepage should be more like a table of contents or a page to help a visitor find their way quickly and efficiently. The homepage should say, what are you looking for? Here it is, one click. You're taken care of. Good. Maybe now you'll want to go ahead and click on the bio page. You can have a button for your bio, but just don't do it on the home page. At least not if you want, if you're building your site not to catch leads, but just to impress your current clients, people who already know you, then your home page can toot your own horn. But to get leads, your home page should be more action-oriented and help your visitors take the action that's going to solve their problems. Call out to specific pages you think they're looking for. Or any page that has good offers on them. And we will be talking about offers here in just a moment. But any pages that don't fit this overall strategy, any pages that don't have offers, any pages that aren't in line with who you're going after, those should be cut or at least put on the chopping block, and you might consider whether to actually cut them or enhance them to make them work for you. But every page that you keep should work to get people close to you or don't use it. If somebody is not going to come up with a reason to contact you after reading a page, then why have the page? It's just there taking up space. It just costs you time and work putting that page up there, so don't do it. Get rid of it. Now let's get into some real lead capture essentials. So we've talked about what people want. We've talked about how to get them that information. Now let's try and close the deal. Now each of your pages should end with a pitch as a close to a funnel. They should read some information, and at the very end they should come to some sort of conclusion. They should find some sort of offer or a reason to go ahead and ask you about what they just got done reading. You also need to back up that offer. What that means is address any concerns they have before they bring it up. This is called bulletproofing. If they have a bullet point that's an objection of theirs, go ahead and call out to it first. For example, before you ask for their contact info, they may say, well, I don't want to give that up. Well, go ahead and say, we guarantee privacy, or hey, there's no obligations. Go ahead and use phrases like that to build confidence so that they will actually feel like you'll put their fears at ease, and they'll be more likely to go ahead and take that next leap. Also, make sure your contact info is easy to find at all times. Make sure that you mention your phone number or your email address periodically. Even though very few people will be brave enough to cold call you, if you keep putting a phone number in front of them, it will eventually encourage them that you are trying to be accessible. Definitely make your testimonials and your credentials easy to find. Make a link to it near your offers. Make sure it's always in your footers when they reach the bottom. Make sure it's got an easy-to-find button in your menu. If people are sort of on the fence, they're going to look for this sort of stuff to figure out if you're trustworthy or not. So make sure that they can find these types of contents. Now, whenever you're actually ready for them to fill out some sort of information, I do think that custom forms are best. A lot of website platforms, including Alamode's, will include certain pre-built forms. Usually those are okay for generic pages, but on specific pages, a specific form would be way better. If you can come up with a pitch for each of your crucial pages and build a form around them, that's going to be a lot more likely to get somebody's attention. For example, if you have got a question on a page, that may not be nearly as specific as, are you in over your head and need to sell now? If you put an urgent form on an urgent page, that's going to do a lot better than putting a weak form on an urgent page. Keep up that sense of urgency and that mood and so forth. Now, to give you an example of a page with a form on it, let me go to my other website. I had this pulled up a minute ago. Now I'm going to go to just one of my general advice pages. I've got a button called Applying for a Loan, and this is an example of how you can use just about any page as a funnel. Somebody can read this for transaction advice, get an idea of how to apply for a loan, but at the very end, I haven't just ended the page. I have put this into a form to where, okay, you just got done reading about loan help. Well, do you need help finding the right loan? You don't have to crack the yellow pages. I'm your guy. I can find plenty of people who would be the right mortgage broker for you. So in other words, they don't have to go fishing. They don't have to they don't have to start cold calling mortgage brokers and find the right person. I'm an expert. This is a reason why somebody might come out of the woodwork and ask me. So even if I'm just going to refer them to a mortgage broker, even if you're going to refer them to some other real estate expert, you can still encourage them to contact you. You just have to come up with an offer like this to where whenever they're reading a page, what other things can you do for them? If you come up with something, offer it to them. Say, contact me and I will do that for you. I will help you find the right loan in this case. Also, plan your follow-ups. Just getting their info doesn't mean they're yours. This is what we mentioned earlier. You do have to have a plan for what you're going to do. In the case of that other form, what I would do is I would take a look at what they sent me, figure out what loan officer would be right for them, send that over to the loan officer, call the lead so that they stay my lead and say, hey, you should be hearing from Josh Smith here in a little bit. He specializes in your types of loan. Just wanted to let you know. Also, here's his contact info. And then I would check back periodically to say, hey, is Josh taking care of you? Do you have any questions? Do I need to find somebody else for you? That way, they really feel like I'm working for them. So that's what you need to do. You need to back up your offer with more than just, here's your single serving of help. I'm going to give you multiple servings of help. Now let's talk about some strategy to back these up. You definitely need to draw attention to your offers. Now just putting it at the end of the page is one way of doing it. Something else that you can do, and I'm going to go to my shopping sample site again. Something else you can do is make sure that people are finding your offers at all times. I've got some buttons here advertising a home buyer handbook. I've got some buttons over here that say, hey, are you looking to buy? Click here, and there's my form. You need to make sure that no matter where somebody is, they can find forms, they can find offers, they can find goodies and so forth, and reasons to exchange their contact info for that stuff. A good way of doing this to get attention is to phrase their problems or needs right back to them as a question, such as, in over your head and need to sell now. This is a Zig Ziglar sales tactic. If you can get them to keep saying yes to stuff and to keep agreeing, even if you're asking them a question that you know the answer is yes, that keeps them engaged. It keeps them feeling like this is still relevant to them. So if you say, hey, are you having this problem? And they say yes, then that needs to lead into your solution. Now when you're doing this, you should talk to them about solutions, not at them about your services. What that means is I wouldn't set up a form and say, buying handbook. I would set up a form and say, do you need additional buying help? Here's this handbook. So you basically say, are you having this problem? Here's the solution, versus here's this product, because that may not always get the right attention. It's about getting that empathy and saying, this will take care of you. Give them specific reasons to contact you. Here's a couple more ideas of how you might do this. A no-obligation consultation. Service does sell. Offer to spend some time with them. Referrals to other experts, like that example form I did where I was going to refer them to a loan officer. You could do the same thing for appraisers, inspectors, fixer-upper guys, anybody else who's going to solve their problems that you already have a good sphere of influence, some colleagues you could call out to. A personally compiled list of properties for them. Offer them a best buys deal from the MLS. Offer to figure out which properties are, let's say, price per square foot is less than average or something along those lines. Give them some special properties that they can't just find on the MLS on their own without understanding the market. That's what you do. You understand the market. Give them a newsletter. Now, do set it apart from other newsletters. A lot of real estate agents have newsletters, so find something special to do with yours. And I do talk about newsletters quite a bit in my email marketing class, which is recorded, and also in the niche marketing class, which is recorded too. And I'll be teaching the niche marketing class next Wednesday. Give them some handbooks. That handbook I was offering on my website, I got that from Realtor.com. There's a lot of free resources for agents. Top Producer also has a selling guide too, so there are handbooks out there that you don't have to come up with yourself. Offer to do a market analysis. Understanding the market can help them understand if it's a good time to buy or sell or invest or flip or what have you. Or discounts to vendors. Hey, are you buying a fixer-upper? I can give you 10% off at building supplies at Lowe's. Contact me and ask me how. A lot of vendors have discount programs for real estate agents because they want your referrals. All right, let's do some wrap-up. This class is intended to be pretty short, so the next thing I want to talk about is driving traffic. Now, basically, having a website without marketing it is like having a sign in the yard and expecting it to sell. You might attract some drive-by traffic, it might sell, but the chances for failure are greater since you're doing the bare minimum. The best lead capture in the world doesn't do any good if you aren't getting anyone to your site to see your offers in the first place. So I do have some upcoming classes next week, or you can watch the recordings. These are classes that will also help add some more tools into your lead capture toolbox and take what we learned today to the next level. I've got an SEO class, Learn Tricks That Will Help Bring in New Traffic. This is our least technical search engine class because it focuses on what really matters these days, contents. You don't have to be a professional web designer to get a website noticed by Google and the others. They're smart enough these days that they can figure out most things out for themselves as long as you got the right contents. So the class that I'm going to be teaching on Monday will ensure that the contents you've got meet Google's requirements and are competitive for higher ranking in searches. Niche marketing. Learn how focusing only on a few things actually brings in more and better leads. I've mentioned this class a few times today already, but the gist of it is that if you set a very specific target and go full speed ahead, you'll get more attention than if you try to take care of everybody. This class is about becoming someone's expert versus trying to be everything to everyone or a jack of all trades. Another class that's coming up next week on Friday is social media, another essential to warm people up. The reason so many people are hopping on the board with the Facebook bandwagon, among others, is that if done properly, this can be a great way to bring people closer to you, as well as have others share your marketing with their circle of friends. It's about making connections, which is the key to relationships, of course. And we'll be covering both an introduction to the world of social media and the strategies that have been tested that work the best. And if you're interested in any of these classes and you haven't signed up already, these are over here on the training page, alamo.com/agent training. Mondays is the search engine class. Wednesdays is my niche marketing and hyperlocal class. And then Friday is my, let's see, social media class. So those are all on this page right here. Now also, re-examine your offline marketing. These still work. I wanted to definitely mention, even if you've already realized it, that marketing is not abandoning the real world stuff for being online only. You'll be a lot more tangible if you exist on paper and out in the open. Technology hasn't retired the basics, and there will pretty much always be a need for these things to keep them going. Business cards, stationery, billboards, car decals, signs in the yard. Make sure these all have your website URL or a QR code. Those are things that smartphones can scan. Basically, you need to be proud of your website. Put it everywhere you put yourself. Many times if someone sees you driving around or walks by your sign in the yard or sitting at a bus stop with your ad on the seat, they'll be more inclined to do something low level like check out a website versus doing something that requires some bravery like emailing you or cold calling you. Leverage flyers, brochures, handouts, mailers, and listings, ads, and media to bring in traffic. Your listings need to be all over the place around town, and your website can help you close the deal. I have some dedicated listings class coming up the week after next, and we will talk about how to make sure that your properties stand out. But also sellers are all over the place, so reaching out to them with mailers and media can ensure you're visible in your market and get them to take notice of you. It's really all about visibility in the end, and that means doing all you can to get attention. Find where people are hanging out and hang out there as well. Mingle the old-fashioned way. Now that may sound like a given, but meeting people really is the best way to start relationships, and it's relationships that lead to appointments. You can build relationships online using social media, email campaigns, blogs, and an attractive website, but nothing beats meeting face-to-face. So don't become an internet hermit and expect magic to happen. Instead, just get your online tools into place where they're doing well, and then get away from the computer and start making calls or rubbing elbows any way you can. All right, this is the last slide here. We've already talked about how we have some additional classes coming up, but also if you need any more additional information on any of those key points, you can find that and our classes at alamo.com/agent-training. I also do a daily class every weekday afternoon at 3 o'clock Central. So if you're on the East Coast, that would be 4 o'clock your time. If you're on the West Coast, that'd be 2 o'clock. If you're in Mountain Time, that would be, West Coast would be 1 o'clock. Mountain Time would be 2 o'clock, but it's 3 o'clock Central every weekday. This is an open Q&A. Anybody can hop in, come and go as you please. I keep it open for about an hour, so if you're working on a project, feel free to hop in at any time and let me know what you're working on. It's a class where the attendees call the shots, so it's custom help for anything you got going on. We also have a 24/7 support number. It's 1-800-211-4514. That'll go right to our product support hotline. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call us at 4 a.m. if you want. Or you can contact me at training@alamo.com. So let me know if you have any questions or you want a copy of this presentation to reference later, or if I can help out any way in the future. But that's it that I have for today. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to any chat questions. If you're hanging on to anything and you haven't used the chat box yet, feel free to let me know if there's anything on your mind, and I'll be happy to help.